This is the book that I got. If you're new, my name is Maya and I love that you're here. Last year I got a blind date with a book for Christmas. I'm gonna start by showing you everything that I got and then I'm gonna get into reading. I'm gonna be honest, I did open the packaging on Christmas because I was really excited, but my sister got me a blue themed book, so it has blue ribbon, blue stickers, it comes with a blue bookmark. It also comes with a coloring page so you can track how many books you've read in the year, and also a reading list so you can also track how many books you've read. To go along with the blue theme, I also got some soft fuzzy socks. It also came with annotation tabs and a blue highlighter, and it also came with a wooden coaster, which I absolutely love. I just think this looks so good. And then it also came with a baggie of things. So one of the things was organic green tea with citrus and ginkgo, and then we also have a coupon for the next time I want to get a book from this seller. Oh, and the tag that was on my packaging was fantasy, so I did get a fantasy book. And then we also have some hot chocolate mix. This is caramel flavored. And lastly, I got two little Biscoff cookies. I love these things. Every time I get on a plane, they always have these and I love them so much. Now it's time for the reveal. This is the book that I got. I got Caraval by Stephanie Garber. Are you kidding me? Now I actually did read Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber, which is the second 3-book series in this world. Not only is it one of the very first books that I've ever read for myself, it's also the very first series that I've read for myself, and I had so much fun with it. I love it so much. Stephanie Garber is now a part of my favorite authors list, and I discovered Once Upon a Broken Heart through browsing through Barnes one day, and I didn't read it immediately until I saw people say that you could read Once Upon a Broken Heart before Caraval. I did get this book as a blind date with a book, but I am also going into this book blind. I'm not reading the back of this. I'm not reading any type of descriptions of this. I just know that it's a mystery carnival. It's something that has to do with a carnival. I could be wrong on that, honestly. I feel like synopses and people's descriptions of the book just give away way too much. It's like, so this is what this book is about. I already gave you 70% of the book. The only potential exciting thing about this book now is the last 20%. So by default, just assume that I go into all of my books blind. But right now it's time to get cozy and start reading. Ah! Reading update. I am currently on night 1 of Caraval, so chapter 13 and page 121. I don't think I have too many thoughts and feelings on the reading so far. I will say I don't trust one of the characters, and I'm actually liking the FMC more than I thought I would. When I read Once Upon a Broken Heart, she did appear in the story, and in my opinion she was kind of made out to be more of a shady character, it seemed. Just from what I was given and what I was reading, I had no context about this world at all, so those were kind of the vibes vibes I was picking up. So to actually like her more than anyone else in the story so far is actually quite surprising, and I love it. One thing I will say is I do like these little pictures that Stephanie puts in the book, like these little letters here. I just think that's so cute and so interactive, low-key. You actually get to see what the characters are seeing, so I think that's really cool. To be honest, I personally think that the spoiler that is said to be revealed in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy is not that big of a spoiler. At least in my opinion, I really feel like I can still read this trilogy and not feel so spoiled by what happened in Once Upon a Broken Heart, or what was revealed to happen in Caraval in Once Upon a Broken Heart. I really think I'm gonna be fine. We are currently 100 pages in, and it's not too exciting so far. I'm gonna say it's actually quite shocking. I was not expecting this story to start out the way it did, which is
literally traumatizing.
But it is a 400-page book, so I'm gonna keep reading and see if things pick up, see where it goes from here. I do really like the world so far, I will say that. So I'm gonna keep reading and I'll update you later. It's actually snowing today, so I do actually want to get some hot chocolate and maybe watch Polar Express. I low-key have been putting off using my hot chocolate bomb from Dunkin' that I also got for Christmas, and I'm honestly glad I did, because now is the perfect time to use it. So this is the Dunkin' hot chocolate bomb in the flavor Dunkachino, which is actually pretty cool. This is so cute. It looks easy to use, so I'm going to do that later today. It's snowing a lot and it's sticking. Like, we're getting inches. We haven't gotten any snow except for one little snow night where it snowed at night, and then the next morning by 11 a.m. it just all melted. So it was like it never snowed at all. Another year added to not getting a white Christmas. I'm lucky enough to experience a time where we would get so many more snow days off from school, and snow that will come up to so many inches that the front door wouldn't even open. Now it's just like, where's the snow? But right now it's literally looking like one of those times back in the day. I mean, I'm saying back in the day like I'm so old. I'm not. I'll see if I can put a clip in here somewhere, but the snow is going up to my mid-calf so far, and I don't know how it's gonna be when it finally stops snowing. We're literally going through a snowstorm right now, and it honestly seems like this is gonna be the only one for a long time, which is sad, but at least we got something, you know? Okay, so I'm currently 50% of the way through this book right now, and I thought I would give you my thoughts on it so far. Honestly, my thoughts so far are, it's the middle of the book, and I'm still not too excited or really having too much fun with this book. I'm gonna be honest, it's not bad, it's really not. It's just not as good as I thought it would be, to be honest. All these twists, all these tricks, and these turns are so annoyingly unnecessary. I really don't want to spoil this book, but if you know, you know. She's trying to find someone, but it's like the person she's trying to find I really don't care about, and I'm trying to think what could make this book better for me. I really thought about it for a while, and I was like, I actually don't know, because I don't feel like Scarlett knows what she's trying to do here. It literally feels like she's covering up whatever truth she may be hiding, even from herself, with the fact that she needs to find this person. And it's getting annoying. It's getting really annoying, I have to be honest, because number one, there's not enough for me to even care about any of the characters. I have no favorite characters right now, not even Scarlet. Yes, I do like her way more than I thought I would, but she's still not a favorite of mine. The supporting characters are so, I guess I'll say, unlikable again, because I don't want to say mean, but these characters, because I'm reading another book called Villain by I'm reading another book called Villain by Chani Lynn Feener, and the characters in that book are equally like the same as doing what these characters in this book are doing. They're only after one thing and they're doing whatever they can to get it type attitude. But I'm loving Villain so much more than this book. I'm gonna be so honest with you right now. I don't know what it is about this book, and I'm trying to pinpoint it so I can give you an accurate review of what this is feeling like so far. But it's just, I'm at a loss of words to describe what is happening, what this is, what this feels like. Again, it's not bad, it's just, what are we doing all this for? We don't know what we're doing all of this for. And I think part of me likes reading Villain more because every character has a reason for doing something. Like, they do some heinous things, commit some heinous crimes, but you still know what you're doing it for. And, you know, believe me or not, surprisingly enough, the characters in Villain are very likable, at least to me. I have one all-time favorite character in that story right now, but I like all of the characters in some way, all of the main characters, let me correct myself. And that book is a dark romance. Like, it's not anything sunshine and rainbows, it's dark. And I'm not gonna harp on this being a YA novel. I don't care about that. Obviously it's gonna read YA. There's just something about the book that I'm missing the mark on, I guess. Maybe I also don't like the repetition in this book, but when I say repetition, I mean the repetition of Scarlet trying to find this person. It's like, first of all, we know she's trying to find someone. Okay, she's been trying to do that from the start of the book. I was just about to say we're halfway through and we still haven't gotten any closer to finding who Scarlet is looking for. There were a couple times where I'm like, oh, I need to DNF this. But I remember specifically there was one, I think I can put a picture of my Storygraph reading journal. I may or may not have put it in there, but you'll see it if I do, where there was one point where I was really sitting there reading the book like, oh, I might need to DNF this. I'm gonna keep reading, yes, but it's just not as exciting as how I felt when I was reading Once Upon a Broken Heart, you know? And I think that's also something, like, at least Evangeline in her trilogy, she was honest about what she wanted, you feel me? And she was sticking by that. But as, you know, what she wanted changed, she recognized that, yeah, we had the little flashbacks to the original mission, but Miss Girl evolved, okay? She was way more honest with herself than Scarlet is being with herself right now. I don't hear too much about what people say about Once Upon a Broken Heart in terms of negative reviews about the characters' personalities or just character in general, but from what I have like briefly heard, the only complaints that I've heard about Evangeline were that, you know, she just didn't know how to stand up and she's like weak or whatever. Girl, Evangeline is the first likable female character that I've read in a book since I started reading. What made her likable was that she actually cared about people and saw the best in them and believed in people, even if they didn't even believe in themselves. Evangeline was not weak, she was loving, which most people don't even have the strength to be. And you could say that she's naive or she should have saw some things coming from a mile away. But first of all, what people act like they've never been naive a day in their life, like holy shit. Second of all, what person is born into life assuming that there's deceit in every single person they meet? Not many, if any. I feel like people who don't like Evangeline are people who are hyper independent or over the age of 21 or something, because Evangeline's a teenager in the book. You expect her to act like a grown woman with full experience within, you know, like the dating life and romance and all that stuff like that? No, you shouldn't. Or those people are just Evangeline in disguise. There is such a thing as people joining the haters so they don't get hated on. Those people could actually relate to Evangeline or have related to her in some way at some point in their own life and was probably scolded for it or made fun of for it. So instead of, you know, acknowledging and being honest that they relate to the character, they want to hate the characters so they don't get hated on. Obviously, no book or series is without its faults, and I will say, I admit, I don't know what Miss Stephanie Garber was doing when she was writing the story of book 3. That was a bit jarring, I'm not gonna lie. There are some things that, some opinions I have on that story that are just like, you know, what? And not when it comes to Evangeline, but just the supporting characters. I'm like, what? This doesn't make sense. Back to the point I'm trying to make is, at least in Once Upon a Broken Heart, Evangeline knew what she actually wanted. At least we knew why each character were doing the things that they were doing and why the story was progressing. In this story, I'm not so sure why, and it's kind of boring me in that sense because it's just a bunch of tricks and unlikable characters with no purpose. And Scarlet and Evangeline seem to be a bit similar in the way that they approach romance or react to it, I guess. And I guess another point that I was trying to make was whether, you know, Scarlet knows what she truly wants or not and admits that to herself. Both Scarlet and Evangeline don't have to be these overly strong, independent girls who don't accept help from anyone to be deemed likable or even decent characters. I swear, some people really just think like people with a sly tongue or backhanded compliments or comebacks are attractive or likable, and it's like, no, not all the time. The standard for female characters in books, at least the ones that I've read so far, are just, it's irritating. I understand why it's there, but it can get really old and really annoying really quickly. Okay, so I finally finished Caraval. I honestly need to pull up my Storygraph reading journal to remember what I thought about this book. This book is a lot. At first I was like, oh my gosh, this is very shocking. And I'm thinking we're gonna get past that, we're gonna get through that, but not in the way that I thought we would. The beginning was very slow and very traumatizing, and the trauma just didn't stop throughout the entire book. There were so many twists and turns. I didn't know what was real and what was not, and I actually consider this a psychological mystery slash torture tactic because holy shit. You already know my thoughts about the book 50% in. About 62% in though, I really just genuinely didn't know what was going on, and I was getting so tired and annoyed and oftentimes bored at the storyline because I'm just like, we still don't know what we're doing this for, what we're really doing this for, and I don't know how much I can take. By around 69%, it really started to get like actually violent. I'm like, this is not a form of escapism at all. Scarlett's dad is absolutely horrendous. Like, he needs to be put down immediately because how is that allowed? There is physical violence in this book all the time, and I guess with any other book it wouldn't be too bad because you have other elements within the story that sort of bring you out of that dark emotional place. There are other things that happen that regulate your emotions, but we don't have that here in this book because everything is so irritating and annoying and disrespectful and not fun. It's not fun at all. I was really trying to understand why I couldn't click with the writing of this book, and around 74% I made a journal entry and I was saying how this was so boring, I'm falling asleep, it's too descriptive. I think this book is actually too descriptive, and what I mean by that is Stephanie would describe things that we know what it looks like and then describes things and assumes that we would know what it would look like based off how she wrote it, how she described it. And so one example there was she described fog as milky. I'm like, bro, we know what fog looks like, we don't need to know that it's milky. But then there was also some other thing that she described. It was probably a facial expression or something. I think it was whenever one of the characters looked at another like they wanted them to be their undoing, and it's like, you gonna have to give me more than that, Stephanie. What does them wanting them to be their undoing look like? Are their eyebrows worried together? Are they giving puppy dog eyes? Like, what does undoing look like? And so it was just stuff like that that was so excessive throughout the book, and I think that was a big part as to why I was just getting so annoyed and bored or angry by the writing, because because it was just too much of nothing. This book felt so dragged out. It did not need to be this long. This could have been a smooth 220 page book maximum. There was just too much going on all the time, and not in the best way. I just don't feel like this book was executed well. I understand what it was trying to do, but it didn't do it well, and so I feel like that's the reason I didn't like it as much as I wanted to. And it was through this book that I really don't like a certain thing. I'm gonna make a whole review video with this book as one of the books that I review and give a spoiler section, because it was through this book where I realized I just don't like a certain thing, and this solidified that for me. This book is truly so hard to get through, and I feel like it's literally just driven by shock value. There's just so many shocking things that happen. It's not good. It's not good at all. This book feels so much different than Once Upon a Broken Heart. Like the entire series of Once Upon a Broken Heart versus just the Caraval book alone, I feel like completely different worlds, like so different. It was actually pretty surprising. And you know, I really like Once Upon a Broken Heart and the writing, so to not like this as much, I was just surprised by it. But that's okay, because at least I know like she did better. But it is kind of disappointing going from something that you really loved to something that was kind of a letdown. But again, that just goes to show that her writing is improving, which is good. Now, I do know that people say that the rest of the series gets better. It gets better with each book, which I'm excited to read about. Honestly, I really want to see this get better. I also see that there are like behind the scenes bonus content in this book as well that I haven't gotten to yet, so I'll definitely look through that. Plus there's a legendary snippet in the back of the book, so I am genuinely excited to see where this series goes. I really hope I can just like low-key forget about this book and really love the other two books at least. I have seen someone say that they rated this book a bit lower than they usually would, but if they reread it after reading the entire series, they would rate it higher. So low-key, hopefully something like that happens for me, because I genuinely wanted to like this book. I'm not even gonna lie. And I'm so glad I didn't annotate it in case I didn't like it, because I didn't. I only have a few annotations in here and I can always just take the tabs out. I didn't write in it at all. I also I also didn't read the epilogue because I wanted to just truly be done with the book. I was so over it. Honestly, the last chapter before the epilogue in the book is the best chapter of the entire book in my opinion. But I just wanted to be so done that I just was like, I'm not reading the epilogue, I'm done. I'll read the epilogue when I'm ready to read Legendary. There was also a reveal that happened at 90% of this book that I just thought was so stupid. When Caraval was over and we were in the aftermath part of the story, I was so angry, so upset. I hated everyone. I thought everything was stupid. I was so agitated. I was like, I really hate this. It's the gaslighting, the tricks, the abuse. It was just too much for me. I'm like, oh my gosh, there needs to be trigger warnings at the beginning of this freaking book. And I honestly just didn't care for the sister bond, the sister love theme going on throughout the book. It was so boring to me, especially because, you know, again, I just didn't care about some of the characters enough to give a crap about that. I know what it's like to want to see the best in people and assume the best in people and want to be there for people, but oh my gosh, like there's just certain things that you just can't miss. There's certain things that you just can't overlook. But again, I do understand, because in their circumstance, like they really only have each other, you know. Something random I also wanted to point out was, look at these inside pages right here. This is the type of stuff that makes me want books to have black pages with white text. Like, why can't you just fit the entire theme of what's going on and just give me black pages with white text? While I was reading this book, I was kind of gauging at certain points, like if I were to rate it at this point, what would I give it? Never at any point in this book did I want to give this book higher than 3.5 stars. And by the end of the book, I am rating this book 2.5 stars officially. It really should be a 2-star. And now that I think about it, I might change it down the road, but for now, it's just gonna land at a 2.5 stars. I just saw 444. That was my blind date with a book. It was so much fun. Even though I didn't end up liking the book, I'm so glad that I was able to read it. So that's all from me. Thank you for spending time with me, and I will see you in the next video. Oh, bye!